5 amazing facts about spiritual vortexes and why you should visit them. So, spiritual vortexes are incredible places all around the world, many of which I've been to, several Mount Shasta, Sedona, Machu Picchu, to name a few. And what I want to talk about is what is a spiritual vortex and what are the qualities of these places and what happens there and why it may be to your great advantage to experience some of these places. So I'll jump right in describing what a spiritual vortex is. It's basically a physical location that has an enhanced energy field, some kind of somewhat paranormal activity or supersensory activity where there's something going on that is beyond the five senses, something that you're going to have to tap into beyond, sight, hearing, taste, all these kinds of our five senses. You're going to have to go beyond that to really be able to get the full benefit of what a spiritual vortex is. So, as I mentioned, there's examples: Machu Picchu, which I've been to, Mount Shasta, where I've lived for 18 years, Sedona, where I visited 4 or 5 times. And all of these places like the Giza pyramid complex in Egypt, some places in Greece, like the Delphi, the Auric Delphi. These are places where you can go and experience these vortexes in their full glory and have a higher level of an intense paranormal, somewhat paranormal experience there. And so some people at these places will not experience anything at all. And so this is why some people think it's a hoax or they don't believe in the basic concept of a vortex, is because they don't experience it for themselves. And that's why you really need to have a heightened level of sensitivity, a heightened level of awareness to be able to even to, know what this is, to have the vortex experience. And so, what is this? Let's jump right in. A vortex basically is, like, as I mentioned, it's experiential. You have to basically go there and experience it. There's no way for anybody really to describe it for you. I mean, I'll do the best I can, but ultimately it's experiential and words do not really do justice to it. It's not a mental concept. It's not something you can analyze and figure out in your head and say, okay, I get vortexes. I totally get the concept. I'm there. You actually have to experience it to know what it's really about. So, one thing that's really important to know about these places is that the kind of paranormal or supersensory experiences, what this basically means is that you're feeling something internal. You're having an internal experience based on the external position that you are in the world. So say I'm at a vortex in Sedona, which, there's at least 5 or 6 of places in the Sedona area where you can have this experience. And so if you go there, say to Cathedral Rock, right? And you go up there and, you've climbed this, essentially a mountain, and you get up there. What is the experience? Well, you're going to have to sit down. You're going to have to get into like a meditative pose. You can stand. You may have to close your eyes, but you need to kind of like get the world out of your head. It's not even the visual beauty. I mean, Cathedral Rock is a stunningly beautiful place. It's one of the most photographed places in all of Sedona. But essentially, you've got to get quiet and tune in. And you may hear an inner voice. You may have some kind of feeling. You may feel chills up and down your spine. You may see things. You may see colors. There's people who have a sense of clairvoyance or clairaudience or clairsentience where they're experiencing something beyond the five senses. And this is what happens at a vortex. And for some people, these are peak experiences. These are, you're pushed beyond all your regular, normal, living in the matrix experiences, and you have this intense kind of peak experience that you may remember for years. Oh, I was at Sedona, I was at Machu Picchu. I remember meditating by the Temple of the Sun in Machu Picchu, Peru, and I just had this profound connection. I felt like, this priest from 500 years ago in Peru, in the Inca, jungles of Peru, tapped into me and was communicating with me. It was this blissful, intense experience. So, this is why it's experiential. You can't really be told what it is because it's going to be different and unique for each person. And you have to have, as I said, sort of a heightened level of awareness. People, highly sensitive people, HSPs, maybe 15 to 20% of the population. These are the kind of people that generally are going to be able to tap into these kinds of experiences. So, some people go for this kind of peak experience in different ways. They may go to a rock concert or some kind of festival, or they may go to an art museum, or they may go on a roller coaster, or they may go to Times Square or be in a high skyscraper. They get these peak experiences. But this is basically the equivalent on the spiritual energetic level to what it's like going to these sacred sites and feeling these super sensory experiences at these power sites, at these vortexes. So you'll only know if it's for you by going there. And so I encourage you, if you have an interest, if you felt a calling to check out some of these incredible places around the world. They're all over the world, by the way. I just mentioned a few, but these places, there are many, many countries around the world, and I'm just naming some of the really popular ones. But if you can go, like for instance, I went to a place called Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, northwest New Mexico, in the Four Corners area, and this is sort of an under the radar place. You don't always hear about Chaco Canyon, but you go to this valley and you just feel these structures that are 1,000 years old. I read that it was Chaco Canyon. One of the buildings there it was the biggest like apartment complex in the world at the time that it was built 1,000 years ago, or at least in North America. But anyway, check your facts. But, I went to this Chaco Canyon and I felt like this huge mothership UFO was just gonna like appear in the sky. I mean, it was just sort of this otherworldly experience that you can have at these vortexes. And so I really encourage you, if you feel the calling, to check them out. It's not for everybody, but I think that, if you're feeling it, go for it. And I really hope you have a great experience there. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. It helps us get out to more people. Thanks very much.